Oh, we're live on Double Funnel TV.
Yes. Gave me a little Facebook and Be Live gave me a little trouble. I had to reconnect, reauthorize it. So
that has never happened ever in the history of ever.
At least I could say it was kind of like Facebook's fault this time.
Yeah.
They like to know that you have authority.
I know my entire system crashed this morning. I was on the live with Sean early, his daily awakening call.
Oh, nice.
And everything went south. So it was like, that's annoying.
You're a little bit.
But all good.
How are you? That's good. That's all that really matters, right?
Yeah.
Today is your day to shine.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited.
You sound super excited. Super excited.
I am super excited.
I was trying to get the title down into Be Live, so I think I got it, but so we all know, what is today about?
The 11 deadly fears. 8 for them and 3 for you.
I got it. I didn't do the last part, but I got the first part.
Oh,
right.
Nice. Way to go.
Well, no, because that was one thing I will say that I was thinking about is there's 2 different ways to write a title, and to do both of them is very difficult and takes some thought. But there's one that grabs people's attention, right? You're like, oh my gosh, it's 11 deadly fears in selling, and you've got the whole 8 for them and 3 for you. But then the other way, especially when it comes to YouTube and to writing business blog posts, is what are people actually searching to find or want that information?
Yes.
So then I was like, if somebody was looking
which
for
part of that
tips,
which part of that title then fits what there?
See, at that point, I think you almost lead with the if you were trying to combine them, you lead with the SEO. With something like how to overcome fears of selling. And your title might actually be in the description and not in
yeah, that makes sense.
The types of fear holding you back from selling. What people actually type in is completely different than kind of how we want to angle it or the way we want to teach it.
Yeah, well, the reality is it's what this presentation is, what it identifies and helps you get through is the 8 fears that hold customers back and the 3 fears that hold you back as a presenter.
Well, I'm ready to get to it because selling's not my forte.
Yeah, sure it is.
It's really not. I've acknowledged that follow-up is not my thing. I'm getting better at people, but it's like those things you work at, like presenting. Yay. Making the pitch, like I was pitching to Miguel yesterday. He's like, oh, well, how do you roll that over into the pitch or the offer? He was asking, not selling, how do you make the offer? And the offer rolls right off my tongue, and I can see on his face that it's convincing.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, yeah, I want to go.
The word offer is so much better than pitch because sales professionals do not pitch. Baseball players pitch. Sales professionals present or they offer.
To me, I could say for mine, and then I want to jump into it, but it's that last part. I feel like I've, over the course of 2 decades, been working up all the different pieces, and it's just finalizing that last bit. But I also think that's where a lot of people struggle, is making that last bit when can we start type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's why I think it's funny. I was coaching a friend of mine the other day, and I said, this comes down to the bottom line of growth equals awareness plus inspired action. If you want to grow in your business, if you want to grow in your ability, if you want to grow in your skill set, if you want to grow in your knowledge, you have to first be aware that there's something different. So the awareness piece has to come first. And then once you have the awareness piece, then you have to take inspired action towards that awareness. So not
inspired action.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why it's not just action; it's really inspired action, which means you got to just keep on going. Greg Reed, great good friend of mine, wrote the book 3 Feet from Gold, and it tells the story of, back in the day when they were gold mining, and they literally stopped 3 feet from gold. They were so close to striking it rich, they ended up selling off all their equipment and all their time and all their things for pennies on the dollar. Somebody else came through, took the exact same hole, the exact same equipment, the exact same stuff, went 3 more feet and hit it big. So the point is, I think that's what a lot of people do. I was having this conversation this morning with a friend, and I said, there are so many good things just about to pop, but it ain't today. Might be tomorrow, might be, actually yesterday there were some great things that happened yesterday. So, but I mean, each day it's those little victories. And sometimes the closer you get to all the big potentials,
yep,
that it's just like, you feel like there's this buffer, this cushion in between you, it's like I just want to get
that's
through.
Almost like the Dean Grazioso OC, where he was saying like that space in between all the failure, that's almost like that's your success payment. Like you can't reach success until you're willing to pay. That's the success tax. That's the tax for success.
And this friend was giving me, he said, a pilot, when they come down, they're gliding, but the same thing that makes a plane fly is the thing that keeps a plane from landing.
Yep.
Is ground effect. Right, lift, right? So as they come in and then lift, and then they get the pressures off the ground, right, it wants to take them back up. So he said, literally, you have to fly it into the ground, that last little bit. And so it was just a great analogy. I said, we're just at a point where we're flying a couple things right into the ground right now. Yeah, and we're not, the wheels aren't quite on the ground, but they're getting really dang close. So anyway, that's the fun of all this.
No, I'm ex-military, so I love the plane analogy because it's true. That's the hardest part of flying. Sometimes is landing that thing.
Yeah, it's just getting that last little bit. So
number 1.
Yep. So again, we want to look at fear, and as I've said before.
Now, are we to cover fear for them or fear for us first?
No, we start with them first. So fears for them, actually, but the fear is a conditioned response, just as selling is a conditioned response, just as taking action is typically a conditioned response, fear is a conditioned response. So the more you learn about it, the more you know about it, the broader you get with it, the better off you're going to be. And as I said, when I was just doing the 3 for the seller on Tuesday, we need to learn to recognize them, and we need to learn to resolve them is what the key comes. And fear is basically an emotion. It's a specific reaction to threat. So everybody's been
perceived
designed.
Threat.
Yeah, well, it's reaction. Good point. It's a reaction to perceived threat. But what it does is it triggers fight, flight, or freeze. And most people have heard of fight and flight. Oh, all of a sudden fear comes up, put them up. I'm going to fight you. Or fear comes up and I'm getting the heck out of here. I'm running. That's flight. But the third emotion that most people don't realize potentially happens is freeze. And freeze is actually, in most cases, the most problematic fear, or the most problematic result to fear, because then you don't take any action. And it's just like, make a decision, don't make a decision. Have you made a decision? Yes. if you take an action or don't take it, you're making a decision. So freezing becomes a decision, and it becomes a decision of not doing anything. And the chances are that's not a great thing. So as an example, I was watching a friend of mine the other day, former FBI agent, who's now got a new book out on safety and what to do in shooter incidents.
Oh.
Right. And he said the number
so
one,
relevant, but it's so sad that it's relevant.
Well, no, exactly. But we had this conversation then afterwards, and he said the number one problem is people freeze, because the statistics show that if you're moving, you have a 96% better success rate.
That's interesting, because we had Columbine happened while I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And about a week later, somebody, as a joke, because, that's high school students for you.
Yeah, they're so smart.
Brought two things of 1,000 black cat firecrackers to school and lit them off in the student center. And they sound like gunshots, right?
Right.
And I remember I took a step back away from the glass, so like out of the doorway space. And I was like 2 steps away from like hitting the ground. That was going to be my reaction. More like a military response, like hit the ground, right, and then push out.
Right. But push out. That's the difference. And
well, I'm also a military brat, so I feel like
I get that.
But still, it was like the initial one was I didn't actually hit the ground. I looked at the student center and I just took a step back out of like the direct doorway. But yeah, I just kind of stood there. Maybe I would have never hit the ground.
Right. But I'm just saying freeze becomes far more of a problem most of the time. And the only way to get feedback is to take an action. And so once you take the action, then you get feedback from that action. So ultimately, normal fear keeps us safe. It's not, we're all programmed with fear. It's there for a good reason. You touch a hot stove, you realize don't do that again, right? But it's the irrational fear that really stunts your growth. It stunts your life. It stunts everything. And if you really look up this category, it's fascinating, because there's 530 different phobias recognized. There's fear of it's crazy if you really get into it. So there's 530 different recognized phobias. And I think, I shared this the other day, but I'm going to share it again, is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in his first inaugural back in 1933, said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance." And I think it's that terror piece that paralyzes us from needed efforts. It's the moving forward. Susan Jeffers has a great book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Press up against your fear, and once you do it, you'll recognize that typically it was an internal decision to be afraid. It's not an external thing. You're not really up against it as much as you think you are. So, and there's a variety of different things, and that's not what this session's about, although we could go very, very deep in all this. But the number one enemy of any of these presentations are these deadly fears, and because they'll kill your deal. You've got to create, when you're selling, you've got to create a mutually beneficial purchase environment. In other words, it can't just be good for you, the seller.
No.
It has to be good for the buyer, and it really needs to be a win-win. Lose-win, win-lose are both lose. It needs to be win-win. So, you exchange value to them, which makes them happy. They give you money, which is an exchange of value that makes you happy. It has to be mutually beneficial. So you overcome the fears by solid product knowledge, by professional presentation skills, by having better funnels, by having better copy, by recognizing the copy needs to be directed to the recipient.
Mhm.
It's not how great you are at building the funnel or, writing the copy. The copy has to be consumable by your prospect.
Mhm.
So that's where the big thing is. And quite frankly, fear is a major barrier to people taking action. And if they don't take action, they can't improve their lives.
Well, let's say before I like skip over it, I add some of my own thoughts. I want to make sure that I like write them down. Am I missing any like one of the specific ones? Because I do want to get into the 11, and I want to make sure that I write them down as you say.
No, we haven't
them.
gotten there yet. We're not there yet. We're getting there.
All right. I just want to make sure that I get to type it.
No, I know, and we want to again set some foundation here for people who didn't hear it live on Tuesday. I'm trying to set a little bit of that foundation. One of the and again, I'm an acronym guy, but one of the definitions for fear as an acronym is fantasized experience appearing real, or false evidence appearing real.
You like your acronyms.
I do like acronyms. Well, if you remember the acronym, the chances are you remember the teaching, you remember the knowledge. So it's really fantasized experience or false evidence. Either one, however you start that, appearing real. It's appearing real. It's not real. It appears real. So it's fantasized and it appears real. So again, that's why it's there. But what we have to do is we have to fight through it. So here's officially fear number 1. The first fear is people fear what they don't know. This is the most common fear. It's fear of the unknown. Remember, and you've seen me do it multiple times in multiple presentations, and it comes up in almost every presentation. I'll ask, by a show of hands, how many of you don't know what you don't know? How many of you feel somebody knows what you don't know? Is it potentially possible I might even know what you don't know? And so the point is, the number one fear is the fear of the unknown. And so they don't know enough to decide. And that's really where you as a presenter, or you as a funnel builder, or you as a marketer, you make the difference, because ultimately it's your reputation, your organization, your product, your service. All those reputations come together to give people a comfort level. And in the past, it used to be said that a satisfied customer tells 3 and a dissatisfied tells 11. I'm going to suggest to you in this day and age with digital everything that a satisfied customer still only tells 3, because that actually takes some effort. But a dissatisfied tells 11 million. I mean, think it through.
I've got one of those stories, man. I'm going to forget to write you a review. If I'm angry,
that's the point. And so again, it's about how do we help people fight through the situation, right? We have to share with them in such a way that they now learn what they don't know, so they can be satisfied. And I'd rather have them satisfied and not take the action than being dissatisfied and taking an action.
That makes sense.
Right? So now I'd rather have them be satisfied and take the action and tell everybody else about it. That's what I'd really like to have happen. Not exactly the way it always happens. Okay, so that was the first one. Now, fear number 1 is fear of what they don't know.
Okay.
Second one is fear of expensive mistakes.
Specifically, not just fear of mistakes, but fear of expensive mistakes.
Exactly. Fear of making an expensive mistake. Why? Why is this a common fear for your buyer? They've done it before. they've already experienced the feeling of, you mean I paid $100 for that and I could have got it for 18? Oh my God. Right? Or whatever. In other words, there's an experiential tie in them that says you've done it. Somebody sold me something in the past.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, damn it, they manipulated me, or they did whatever, right? And they got me to do something I didn't want to do. And salespeople suck. And no, it's one situation, it's isolated. But again, it's kind of that situation. If that becomes top of mind, that's what creates the thing. So our job as professional salespeople and presenters is to educate them. That's where we go back to when I created my heart-centered selling definition of sales: education through communication without manipulation. So it's really about, our job is really to be that of a teacher. It's it's to teach them about the features, advantages, and benefits of our products, goods, and services, so they satisfy their needs, wants, and desires. That's really our job. So if your product satisfies their need, it's our obligation to help them fight through this block. You know, Jena, I hear what you're saying. I am so sorry that that happened to you in the past. I only hope that the time that we've shared together, that you have a different and better feeling with me here and our company and our organization and our solution than what happened in the past.
Well, and I'll give you a good one too. It doesn't even have to be that complicated. When you're offering value, somebody was talking about the membership and she wanted to cancel. She was terribly upset. I spent like an hour with her on the phone, and not talking about the cancellation the whole time, just talking about her business and how frustrated she was. And when she got to the end of the conversation, she's just like, I don't think this is working anymore. Like, I would like to cancel. And I just asked her, and I was like, I bet you've spent a lot of money in the past. That website looks expensive. This looks expensive. You have a lot of pieces in place. And she started rolling out some, 5-figure, very large numbers. And I reminded her of the price of Business Growth Network was only $17. And I was like, in all this time, has anybody you paid all that money to ever given you an hour of your time or hour of their time? Nope.
No, I mean, it's a
still a customer too.
Very legitimate, very, sometimes that's all it, again, sometimes it just takes a conversation. Imagine
that, a conversation.
I know, it's so novel. So that's the way it is. Again, you have the conversations and you find through. Okay, fear number 3.
Okay.
Similar products, similar problems. And what that fear is, I've tried something like this before. Jena, I built a funnel before, and funnels don't work. I've done some digital marketing in the past, and it just doesn't work. I built a website to do e-commerce, and it just didn't work. So now you're asking me to build a site, build a funnel, do this, and similar products, similar problems. And this is where the way you handle it is through total customer satisfaction. Just truly ensure that they're happy with it. And
right.
How do you do that? Could use a trial period. Could use it for 30 days. And if you don't, not like this is, as an example, one of the problems with the mobile phone carriers.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Right. If I switched over to them and they locked me into a 2-year contract. So I don't even know if it's really any good. Right. With us, it's month to month. Oh, see, that's now so use a trial period. You have to earn their trust, show testimonials, show endorsers, show the people who you work with, right? See,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's an old style business, people locking you into a long-term, this is month to month. So, I mean, now wait a second, then the business, there, you always get not always, many times you get the comment, but people will bail out. Well, people will bail out if you don't deliver them value and you don't keep touching them.
Yep. And appropriately touching them.
Of course. But yes.
The other trick you can do around that is you don't have to lock them into a long-term contract. What you can always do is say, here's our month to month. But if you go like quarterly or every 6 months or every year, you knock the price down. And then you kind of give them the option.
Right.
And they'll go. You'll see, like, there are some companies, like, I'm not going to pay for the whole year for, like, at this point, I should probably go get Be Live for the entire year. But I didn't in the beginning because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like Be Live.
Well, and that's the point. I mean, that's how you handle it these days. That's how you handle that particular fear, is you kind of back it off. Fear number 4 is the fear of what others might say. What will other people think if I start doing business with Jena? What will they, I mean, one of our friends is with ClickFunnels, and oh my God, what are they going to say if I use Kartra or Kyvio versus ClickFunnels? So I mean, ultimately, your peer group is important to you. So the fear becomes what's other. And this really leads into what Sean teaches with addiction to approval. Doesn't really matter what other people say. And if you're not addicted to the approval. Now, you like to get input from other people, but there's again, this is the difference between, do you make decisions based on the information presented to you by the solution provider, or do you address this based on what somebody else has said? Well, gosh, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to get me one of these new Tesla electric cars. Well, don't you understand that electric cars can't possibly work? And but now all of a sudden it's, you understand?
Yeah.
As a professional, our task is to satisfy their needs. And so therefore we have to have the right expertise to deliver the right solution. As a professional salesperson, a professional solution provider, however you want to look at yourself, we have to be in a place where we need to give the right thing to them so that it creates a reputation of them knowing, God, these people are really there for us. And so again, we need to get out of that addiction to approval, and exactly why you take Sean Murphy's course, to get out of that situation. Does that make sense?
That's rough. Yeah. I mean, that's not easy, but yeah, it's rough, and it definitely contributes. It's worth acknowledging. And we've got Jeremy who's saying, like, yeah, number 4 is huge truth. I mean, we're in Dallas. I know so many people who, the approval issue is such a big deal. And I've even seen it, especially when in business. Like, I see people who don't, when they're starting their own business, because they've done bigger, better things, in theory, better things. In the past, they're actually afraid to reach out to their old colleagues to let them know about what they're doing. Or, even more recently, switching to Kartra, and everyone's like, what do you mean you're changing? And I have to now explain myself. But I mean, that's part of growth.
Well, part of, I mean, I built a page in an hour in Kyvio yesterday. And for what I was looking to do in that time frame, it was phenomenal. And for what it will allow us to do, it was phenomenal. Now, is it as detailed a program and some of the stuff being built in Kartra now? No.
Completely
And
different.
so that's just it. It's a great tool to do certain things. It's still a great tool. You're still going to use it for certain things, but you're not going to use it for all things, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, I mean, maybe you will, maybe you won't. I mean, part of that is that the jury's still out, but you understand what I'm saying is that it's the only way if you say, well, if ClickFunnels was your only choice, Kartra and Kyvio wouldn't have come to market, or Omniport, or that how many other, right?
So there's so many.
Well, that's the point, is there's a need for technology in that space. Don't kill the messenger, right? Fear number 5.
Fear number 5.
Owing money. They don't want to owe too much. And so this is really.
How do you spell owing? O-W-I-N-G?
O-W-I-N-G.
All right, looks
So,
funny.
If they have a need, they'll buy, but they'll usually wait for you to make a concession. In other words, I just don't want to, I don't want to put that much on my credit card, or I don't want to finance it for 3 years, or I don't, whatever that is. And so what salespeople tend to do is they tend to make a concession and cut price. Instead of making a concession, add value. Make it more valuable for them to realize they're not owing too much. Offer the best quality, the best service, the best expertise. Which of these are most important to you? Would you like the best price, the best quality, the best service, the best expertise? You can have 3 out of the 4, but you can't have all of them. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those kind of things. You can't. Better to add value than it is to take and reduce price, because with reduced price you have no margin. With no margin, you have no ability to do anything. And so, again, better to add value. I'm about to. In fact, you and I need to talk.
Well,
about
the competing. I thought this was interesting. Doing the One Funnel Away challenge, hearing him talk about there's only one way to compete on price, and that means you have to be the absolute lowest cost provider, because if you're just competing on price, now you're saying who's less expensive in the market.
Right.
And that's a bad way to go.
Well, if you think about it, and I said this in one of the live presentations I did at BGN Insiders, was how many, by a show of hands, how many people, or you can, by the number of fingers you raise, how many people can have the lowest price in the marketplace? 1. So if that's not you, how do you compete?
Right.
So if you chase lowest price, you're going to have a problem. Now, what I find interesting is that the people, the one company in particular that touts itself as the low price leader,
I wonder who that is,
has a sister company in a building right next door to them at lower prices. And yet they have done such a great job of marketing that they're the low price leader, that when I mention that to
Walmart
people,
and Sam's Club?
I did not say those names, but it might be. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I was like, who's lower than Walmart?
Their own company.
Their own company.
That's my point, is they've done such a great job of convincing people that they're a low price leader, but they have their own sister company sitting next to them in almost every location. So, I mean, that shows you the power of marketing, right? So therefore, if you can't be the low price leader, what you have to do is be the high value leader. Be the one that delivers more value than anybody else. Make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay.
It's all about making that sweet offer, baby.
That's right. So now number 6. He said, she said. What that is
I know, right?
Well, this is kind of a fear of conflicting points of view.
Okay.
So somebody could slam you, your profession, your products, your services, all that kind of stuff. Oh, digital marketing that's bunk. That crud doesn't work. That oh no, you don't seem to understand. Jena's the best. So now you have the marketplace arguing over you or your products or your goods or your
Okay.
services, right? So one person says digital marketing's great. One person says digital marketing's terrible. One person says warfare marketing and Jena Apgar is great. One person says warfare marketing, not so much. One person says Scott Schilling's an amazing trainer. Some people say Scott Schilling, all he does is laugh and make jokes while he's on stage, right? I mean, everybody's got their, which is not true. But anyway, the point is you've got to get and be able to dispel the misinformation and the myths, the mistruths. Again, you're striving for that total customer satisfaction. So you need to know the issue so that you can handle it properly. Somebody says, well, people have been telling me I need to build a funnel, and other people are telling me funnels just don't work. Well, instead of fighting instead of getting defensive,
Defensive never works.
Right. Can I show you where funnels have worked in a similar situation to help you feel more comfortable that it's possible for a funnel to work? In other words, don't be so absolute in your presentation. You've got to dispel this. They have every right to feel this because they've heard people do business with those they know, like, and trust. If they trust somebody else's word about you more than they trust you, you have to bring that trust level up in you to at least equal what they've heard.
That's interesting. Most people don't take it from that angle.
I get most people don't take it from that. But it's a trust thing. They trust themselves. They trust what they read. They trust their friend who told them because they trust their friend.
That reminds me almost of like girly gossip. Like if you hear, like you go up to someone and you're like, you've met them and they seem like a really good person, and you go to a friend, they're like, oh, you should stay away from them. They're really, like, I don't know, creepy, wrong, backstabbing, whatever, terrible gossip. And I remember just getting to the point where it's like, yeah, I'll figure it out.
You should.
But I mean, those are one of those things that because I met the person first, then I give them the benefit of the doubt. If you were to go up and your friend just said, oh, you need to watch out for so-and-so, when you meet that other person, you're more inclined to not even meet them in the first place, right? But for that person to overcome that negative gossip, all it really takes is getting to know you. Yeah,
exactly. But again, think about how many times in all these Friday trainings and throughout all the double funnel TV, it has been repeated. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. If they don't know you, they don't like you. If they don't like you, they don't trust you. In order to do business with you, they have to trust you. It's foundational. You've got to have trust. As soon as you break trust, you've got a problem. And so, and if you think you've broken trust, circle back around and work to fix it. Make sure. I mean, it's really intriguing because we've got some business possibilities going on right now, and people keep on circling back to somebody in the past has done me wrong. And which frustrates me because I ain't somebody. And by the way, somebody in the past has done me wrong. A number of people have done me wrong. But you either have to learn to get over it and understand the person you are now doing business with is not that person.
Right.
And so this is where a fear holds you back because it's like, well, I got screwed in the past, so I'm going to get screwed again. No, you got screwed in the past because you got screwed in the past. Change the way that you evaluate people, change the warning signs, change to this, change to that, keep taking action. And so again, this is where it comes down to trust. I mean, fear is a trust thing. Fear number 7.
Fear number 7.
Outright fear of the presenter. So now, Jena, you scare me. You're the manipulator.
Oh, okay.
Not all presenters wear plaid, right? Not all presenters wear silk suits and da 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 da. In other words, just because in any business there are people that choose to do business in not great ways. Can we agree upon that? So you've got to be better at discerning who they are, why they do what they do. And the way you get through this with your customer or prospect is to educate them on the benefits of what you offer. And then decide if it's a fit. If they're afraid of presenters, period, then there's a little more humility involved. You've got to back her down a notch. Don't be so absolute that, by God, your way or the highway, my product's the best. The only way to do this is through funnels, Well, the most efficient way we've found is by building funnels. But of course, there are other ways you can do this. What we work to do is do this the most efficient way with our clients to get them where they want to go as fast as they want to get there. You educate them. And this has to be care, not scare.
And I get that. Like, I've even seen, and tell me if this fits into that particular fear. People don't even want to jump on a webinar because they know they're going to be sold.
Right. All webinars are the same. Everybody's trying to jam stuff down my throat.
I go out of my way to be like, look, it is a jam-packed, full of information webinar. I may make a softball pitch. It'll be like 5 minutes at the very end. And then if I'm not making a pitch at all, I'm like, pitch free.
Well,
as soon as I say pitch free, people are more interested.
Right. But the fact is, would it be okay if I offered you the opportunity to take advantage of what I talk about? Now, then you can make a choice. The fact is, it's somewhat irresponsible to not want to carry through and give them more. If you've got a solution that can help people, you need to offer that help to people. Should they choose to take advantage of it? Awesome. Should they choose not to take advantage of it? Awesome. People do business with those they know, like, and trust, and they take action when they're ready. So that's why that keeps on being so foundational. So don't apologize that you're going to offer something, because you're offering something that can serve them. Now, whether they make that decision that it will actually do what you're suggesting it'll do, that's up to them.
Yeah.
But that's why people, well, if you don't do it today, this goes away. Well, if you don't do this, they're working to create scarcity and working to create pressure. And there's nothing wrong with scarcity as long as it's true scarcity.
Oh, I hate fake scarcity.
Well, fake scarcity is fake. So the whole point is ridiculous, right? And then fear number 8 for your prospect is liar, liar. And what that fear is, many people have just outright been lied to. There's never a good reason to lie, ever. Do everything you can to tell
I
the
feel like
truth.
this one seems so weird, but I know that there's a lot of people who will get up there and they'll straight up lie.
I'll give you an example of a presenter, and he's tremendously talented. He's a great speaker. He has phenomenal content. And then he'll say something like, well, the room is overflowing. Well over 500 people here tonight. And there's 300 chairs set in the room.
Now, is that just him? I mean, I look out on an audience. I can't count to save my life out there. I'm guessing. Is that just overstating accidentally, or are we talking about?
Oh, heck no. No, it's purposeful. It's purposeful. It's puffery. It's puffery beyond reason. You know, it's if you can count the number of chairs that are in a room, so can somebody else. And here's the problem that people don't realize when they do something like that. So now if you say, so excited to have well over 500 people in the room, somebody counts and goes, well, there's only 300 chairs and there's 6 chairs open. That would be 294. Now, I know that's an anomaly and that doesn't happen often, but I'm just saying if they would do that, then this person comes back and says, and oh, by the way, if you take advantage of this opportunity, you could sell 1,000 units in a month. Well, if you can't count chairs properly and relay that piece of information, can I really sell 1,000 in a month?
Right.
See, what happens is as soon as something is verifiable in the presentation,
exactly,
and found to be wrong, that means every other thing that you put out there as far as expectations can be judged wrong.
That's true.
Sending out improper expectations is creating a predetermined resentment in the future.
I believe that. No one likes to be lied to.
Right. So this is where integrity comes from the word integer, one, wholeness. How you do anything is how you do everything. Now, do people make mistakes? Yes. Do people say the wrong things? Yes. Do people exaggerate? Yes. Do people, it's a big part of this is intent.
Okay.
But like that situation, I called it to the person's attention and I said, you're too good for this. You don't need that. You know, because you're such a talent, right? So all of a sudden it's how do you keep on refining yourself? You know, as friends, what you hopefully do is you call each other on your crud, you know?
Right. All right. We got 5 minutes left. We're still missing three.
Well, we can do this a couple different ways. We can bust through because you know what the 3 are because I gave them Tuesday, or we could save it for another one. Which way do you want to go?
Ooh, I said 11, so at least let's mention them here. We don't have to go in deep.
It's kind of anticlimactic, but okay.
Anticlimactic, but we can cover them more in-depthly next Friday.
Okay. So fears 1 through 8 are all customer issues. Okay. You know, you have to up your knowledge and understand how to handle these. Now, these are the 3 that are for you. Okay, and I'll just briefly touch on them. The first is fear of rejection. This is for you, the presenter. Now, the bottom line to understand fear of rejection is that it's kind of a state of mind. And it's this addiction to approval again. You know, you don't want to say anything because people will reject you. You don't want to say anything because you'll feel there's a lack of acceptance or disapproval
Right.
or something like that. So the way to really think about this is rejection is only realized within. Now, this is a big topic. So yeah, we'll do this. We'll do these three in depth next Friday. But rejection is realized only within. And a great way of thinking of this is Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." So fear of rejection resides within you. That's the only place it is. It's not you're totally in control of that from that side.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about how to bust through that later on, next Friday. The next one for you as a salesperson or presenter is fear of failure. And this is the fear of making mistakes and losing approval again. This comes back, it's very closely tied with rejection, but this again goes to this addiction to approval. Failure only exists if you determine its failure. So it's who sets the rules. So Edison, when he created the light bulb, and it's been reported it was over a 10,000 step process, or that he had 10,000 or more quote unquote failures. When he was asked about his failures on the way to developing the light bulb, he said, "I haven't failed once. I have simply found thousands of ways that didn't work."
Yep.
So again, this Buckminster Fuller has a great quote, and that is, "You can't learn less." The only way to get feedback, the only way to take action, the only way to do it, or the only way to gain feedback is to take action. You can't learn less. As soon as you take an action, you learn something. And if you don't take action, you don't learn something. So again, the only way you can fail is to keep from moving forward. And the 11th fear overall, and the third one for you as a salesperson, is fear of success. People go, "Oh, come on, Scott, I'm not afraid of success." Sure you are. Because when you're successful, your life changes typically to the better. But all of a sudden, you have more money.
Yep, changes change.
Changes change. You have more money. You have more flexibility. You have more time. You have more this. You have more that. Now you have this whole bucket of more.
Yep.
And you've got to figure out where the spread the bucket.
This is true. I have a hard stop, so I hate doing this to you because it's 10 o'clock, but I've got to go. I know, but
fine.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we covered those first 8 incredibly well, and I think they're important because most people don't address the fears that the audience is having.
Right.
But I think we cover those 3 in depth next Friday because I think that's an important conversation.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. All right. Bye, guys, and love you.
See you next Monday.